Alright, let's imagine this situation where Batman, yes, Bruce Wayne himself, decides to swap Gotham streets for the rugby field. As Coach Pan, I'd see this as both a challenge and a brilliant opportunity. Let's break down how I'd approach coaching Batman, analysing his ideal rugby position, his training routine, how he fits into the team, and more. Batman's ideal rugby position. First things first, rugby is a game where different players bring different skill sets to the field. Batman has some clear traits that would determine his ideal position. Physical strength and agility. Batman is exceptionally strong and agile, which would suit a role in the forward pack. His balance of power and movement would make him ideal for a back row position, either as a flanker or number 8. This position demands both strength and speed, and Batman certainly ticks those boxes. Defensive mindset. He's always looking to protect the people of Gotham, and that defensive mindset would translate brilliantly on the field. As a flanker, he could be the player who's all over the field, tackling opponents, disrupting their attack, and winning turnovers. His awareness would give him an edge when reading plays and reacting quickly. Discipline and intelligence. Rugby is a thinking man's game, and Batman's strategic mind would make him an excellent captain or leader on the field. A great number 8 leads from the back of the scrum and makes crucial decisions when the ball comes loose. Batman's decision-making under pressure is second to none. Work rate and endurance. Rugby requires constant movement, and Batman has the stamina to keep going. His focus and ability to train hard would allow him to cover the entire field, chase down attackers, and be at the breakdowns when needed. In summary, Batman would likely excel as a flanker or number 8. Both of which require physicality, intelligence, and a relentless work ethic. Batman's training routine. Now, let's talk about how I'd train Batman to get the best out of him on the rugby field. Training him wouldn't be too different from how I'd approach training an elite athlete, but we'd tweak a few things to maximise his potential in rugby. Strength training. Batman already has a superb strength base, so we'd focus on rugby-specific strength. That means emphasising explosive power for scrummaging and contact situations. Squats, deadlifts and Olympic lifts would form the core of his gym routine. The goal here is to maintain his immense power but convert it into more rugby-specific outputs. Quick bursts of energy in scrums, rucks and mauls. Cardiovascular conditioning. Batman's used to long nights on patrol, but rugby is about repeated, high-intensity bursts of energy. His conditioning would involve high-intensity interval training, HIIT, sprint drills, and extended aerobic capacity training to ensure he can maintain top speed for the full 80 minutes. Agility and footwork. Batman's ability to evade enemies would translate well to dodging tackles. However, we'd refine that with rugby-specific footwork drills. Quick lateral movements, short sprints, and reaction drills would sharpen his ability to get past defenders or close gaps in defence. Tackling and contact work. Tackling is essential in rugby, and while Batman knows how to incapacitate criminals, we teach him how to tackle legally in rugby, keeping his body position low, leading with the shoulder and wrapping the arms around the opponent. We'd also spend a lot of time on rucking and mauling, ensuring he's effective at winning the ball back and protecting possession. Mental preparation. Rugby is just as much a mental game as it is physical. Batman's discipline and focus are well suited for this, but I'd help him work on the specific tactical and strategic aspects of rugby. We'd study opposition teams together, break down game plans, and look at how he can use his detective-like intuition to read plays. Batman's personality and impact on the team. Batman's personality is a double-edged sword when it comes to rugby. He's a lone wolf by nature, used to working solo or in small teams like with Robin or the Justice League. However, rugby is the ultimate team sport, and everyone has to rely on their teammates. So, we'd have to address his tendency to do everything himself. Positives, leadership. Batman is a natural leader, even if he doesn't always like to be. His presence alone would inspire confidence in his teammates. He's the guy who will never give up and never let you down, and that sort of attitude is infectious on the field. When things get tough, having Batman in the squad would give the team a psychological edge. Work ethic. His relentless work ethic and commitment to training would raise the standards of everyone around him. Players would see him training twice as hard as anyone else, and that kind of dedication rubs off on others. He'd push the team to be better just by his example, calm under pressure. Rugby can get frantic, especially in close matches, but Batman's calmness in high-pressure situations would be invaluable. He'd bring a sense of composure to the team, especially when things get heated in the last 10 minutes of a match. Negatives. Lone wolf mentality. One challenge would be getting Batman to trust his teammates. Rugby is all about trusting the guy next to you, and Batman's used to doing things on his own. We'd need to work on building that sense of teamwork, getting him to understand that he doesn't have to carry the entire burden by himself. Intensity. Batman is intense, and while that's great in many situations, it could be overwhelming for some of the other players. He might need to dial it back at times and learn to support his teammates in a more encouraging way rather than pushing them to the brink. The pros and cons of having Batman on the team. Pros. Physical dominance. Batman's sheer physicality would make him a menace on the rugby field. He'd be a destructive force in defence, and his ability to carry the ball into contact would gain massive meters for the team. Versatility. Batman could play a variety of positions, from flanker to number 8, even in the backline if needed. His skill set allows for flexibility, and he could slot into different roles depending on the team's needs. Leadership and tactical insight. His mind for strategy would give the team an edge in planning and in-game tactics. He'd spot gaps in the opposition's defence, read their attack patterns, and adjust the team's positioning accordingly. Cons. Overbearing presence. Batman's dominant personality might overshadow other leaders within the team. Players could feel pressured to meet his standards, which might lead to tension if not managed properly. Lack of rugby experience. Despite his many skills, Batman doesn't have a background in rugby. There would be an initial learning curve, especially in understanding the intricacies of the game. However, with the right coaching, this wouldn't be a long-term issue. Batman's rugby nickname. Every rugby player needs a nickname, and for Batman, it's got to be something that reflects his presence on the field. I'd go with something like the Dark Knight. It's simple, ties into his persona, and reflects the way he'd play. Dark, brooding, and unstoppable. When you see the Dark Knight coming at you in a tackle, you know you're in trouble. Conclusion. Bringing Batman into a rugby team would be a fascinating experiment. His physicality, intelligence, and work ethic would make him an asset, especially in a forward role like flanker or number 8. However, the key challenge would be integrating him into a team dynamic where everyone relies on each other. If we could overcome that, Batman could become one of the most dominant players in the sport. His leadership and intensity would inspire those around him. And while his lone wolf tendencies might need to be tempered, there's no doubt that the Dark Knight would make a massive impact on the rugby field.